if you're going to say something real profound,
We're going to wait for that?
let the plane pass. And we're back. I'm here in a hotel room in LA. I just finished up the Production Music Conference. I actually made a video about last year's Production Music Conference that you can go watch. It's just a gathering of production music composers, and I filmed a bunch of video. I don't know exactly what I have. I need to go home and sift through it all. But one thing I know that I do have is an interview and a sit down, a chat with Dan Wilson. Dan Wilson, if you don't know, is the lead singer of Semisonic. He wrote Closing Time, and he co-wrote Someone Like You by Adele, or with Adele. That's a big deal. And Dan, through Piano Book, found some of my samples and has used them on his projects, which blows my mind. And through that, we've become Twitter friends, and he invited me over to his house to have a chat. And in the end, there's going to be a giveaway, because I have this. I'm going to let Dan tell you more about it. I'm going to give away one of these, but I don't know exactly how I'm going to give it away, so I'm going to let Dan talk, and I'll come back at the end of this video with the details. But stick around. You're going to want this. So this is where I'm supposed to do something
Introductory?
Yes.
Okay, go.
Could you do it?
Dan Wilson here. That's John Mayer. Don't say Mayer, he'll get really annoyed. And we're talking in Los Angeles.
We are talking in Los Angeles.
How was that was that all right?
I think that's gonna
fly?
I think I might have to redo it later myself.
No problem. Why, did I pronounce your name wrong?
No, you nailed it.
Okay,
just
good.
right.
See, that's all that matters.
Nobody gets it right.
No, that's all that matters. Okay.
So Dan, you were lurking around the Piano Book community, looking for sounds, and you stumbled upon some things that I did, and then I thought, Dan Wilson. Did a little investigating, and it was you.
The same Dan Wilson, yeah.
The same Dan Wilson.
Yep.
And Steinway Grand, is that one you talked about?
I really love your Steinway Grand. My engineers and I have used it on a bunch of tracks.
That's so
really love it. Soft drums, is that what it's called?
Yes.
That's a nice one. I can't remember the bell, mallets.
Gentle Vibes?
Yeah, Gentle Vibes.
Gentle Vibes.
We also use Gentle Vibes.
Great.
That's because we're just organic, gentle people, you know?
Yes.
Can't get enough of that stuff.
Yes. Well, it's a big thrill for me that you are using that and you're willing to meet with me. And beyond all the musical stuff, we all know what you've done. Yeah. And I'll be sure before we get to this, I'll list everything that you've done. But, what?
There's no time for that.
You seem to be very much interested in helping songwriters be better songwriters.
Yeah, I do like that thought. I like the thought of helping songwriters be better songwriters.
And that's where this comes in. What is Words+Music in 6 seconds?
Words+Music in 6 seconds started out as a long time ago as a Vine account of mine, and I was just trying to, it was a Vine account, and I was just trying to say useful things to songwriters that would take the amount of time that you had on Vine. And I did probably 100 of those. And then Vine suddenly just disappeared.
Where did it go?
It's
in the middle of the night.
It's in an archive somewhere. You can actually look at old
Really?
Vines. Yeah, you can look at old Vines. Wow. But meanwhile, I transferred those, the things I would say on Vine were if you like it, then it's good. If it sounds good to you, then it's good. Like that. And we sort of transferred those to Instagram, and then I just continued sort of trying to say these very pithy things. And eventually a friend of mine, Teddy Geiger, who's a wonderful producer and songwriter, said to me at a party, you need to take those quotes of yours on Instagram and make them into a book. And then she listed, by memory, said about 4 of them, her favorite ones.
Really?
And I was so moved that they were memorable in that way. And I mentioned this idea to my wife Diane, and she said a book would be cool, but also what about doing it like a set of cards, like tarot cards?
Yeah.
And I said, oh yeah, like the Brian Eno cards. And my wife goes, who?
Oh, no.
Brian, what? So I was like, okay, I can do this. I'll make my own version of like the Brian Eno. This is, W&M, Words+Music. And it's just like, I don't know, it's just me trying to say brief, helpful things like, this is pretty down and dirty. Demos seem to work best either if they are super simple and crude or they totally sound like a finished hit record. I mean, that's, it's up for grabs. It's arguable, but it's a thing.
I know exactly where this is going to sit in my studio.
There you go. It's people. Some people I know say that they just, every time they have a session, they take one out and they read it, and then all the collaborators argue about whether it's right. Like, this is a good one. Learn how to revise. Take your work in progress and make it better. Revision is almost the most important part. So I just was trying to like make something like that would encapsulate a lot of the stuff I might say in sessions and also be useful. And that's what this is.
You posted one on Twitter last week.
Yep.
And it was, I've read it so many times in the past week with the production music composers, which this video is probably going to be centered around.
Cool.
And it's, find your musical community, people that will help you move house, which I thought that was an interesting way to phrase that. I really liked it.
Mm-hmm.
Have a beer with, and that they're better than, any gatekeeper in the business. And, one of the difficulties of the production music business is that it's most efficient to write the most amount of music by yourself, alone,
right,
in your house.
Right.
And whenever you get away from that, it takes time, it takes money, and nothing that we do is guaranteed that it's going to be a hit because you spent a certain amount of money.
Right.
But the gains that you get from being around people and humans, it's important.
Yeah, I always feel like, well, number one, I feel like capitalism wants us all to buy a whole studio of our own that no one's invited to and put it in our house. That way they get to sell a whole studio to every single person who wants to make music. That's way more profitable than have, I've got a friend who has a microphone in his garage. We'll go over there and we'll record something. They want everyone to buy an entire suite of everything and own it. And to do that, I think they've really, really worked on giving us the impression that we have to be alone all the time, like working alone and like being like, just like, digging in the dirt all alone every day, all day long. And there's something about getting other people involved that just makes something happen fast, and unexpected things are often what you can't really do alone.
Yeah.
I mean, truly unexpected stuff that's outside of your view of the world almost can happen in a collaboration. And so and the other thing about just a musical community is like, it's part of your life. Like it is someone to help you move house, or like, I cannot lift this sofa on my own. Can you come over and help me get this damn thing out of my house?
Well, there's probably some contraption that you can buy at Home Depot.
Right.
Every one of us can have at our house.
See,
it'll help you pick up that.
You're a
couch
capitalist at heart then.
I am.
Yeah. But even that said, I'm not trying to say even that having friends will make you money. I literally don't mean that.
I know.
But I do think the pressures on us to just get down with our laptops all alone are so great, and there just has to be someone's got to be beating the drums of like, you are going to need friends. And also, if you have friends, if you have a community that you love and everybody's into music, somebody's going to eventually have like a booking agency, or someone's going to be, doing the schedule at the bar of who gets to play, that night or whatever. And I'm not saying like you're that. I'm also not saying that's why to have a friend. I'm just saying that's a way more likely way to have a fruitful contact than like coming to LA and like, trying to sit outside somebody's house, all day long, to try to meet them.
I think I do a pretty good job of having my, virtual musical community.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that's great, and I love it. And sometimes it feels like the people are in the room with you the way Zoom is now. But
there's a word, I don't know if this is the right word, but I think it's parasocial
Okay.
A parasocial friendship is a friendship where you've never met the person, but you actually feel like you really like them and you trust them, and you know that if you met in human space with them, you'd be like, yeah, we're buds. It's
That
cool.
completely makes sense.
Yeah.
And just making these YouTube videos and sharing kind of my whatever it is that I do. There's like people that kind of like what I do.
Yeah,
in
of
other
course.
places, and you find it, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh, we would totally be best buds
Yeah.
if we lived in the same town.
Yeah, listen to this piano tone. I would definitely like you.
But I know just reading that quote is like it's really challenged me to. That's all important, but I want to do a better job of finding like people in my own town to
Yeah.
make music with.
Yeah.
And you in your 20s, you're all together. Then marriages start to happen and babies start to happen and
Oh
jobs
God,
start to
and it's
happen.
just like
And it's like
it
how
vaporizes the community.
It just goes away, and you're completely alone. But, anyways,
Yeah, but there's hope for that. The other thing about like the position you're in, I would say, to some degree, you would, and I'm sure you'd actually be fine with it. But like if it's, you live in Dallas,
yes,
so in Dallas,
I live in the
burbs,
suburbs,
the burbs of Dallas. So in the burbs of Dallas is likely to be more people that, realistically speaking, would learn from working with you than maybe you would learn working from them. It's always a two-way street.
Yeah.
But even embracing that, like, okay, in the suburb I live in, let's say, if hypothetically speaking, I might say, in the suburb I live in, there's probably more folks who would get a lot out of hanging out with me, and I might be cast in a role of mentor at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But that also is part of that community thing. And I, because I've been around doing this for a long time, I'm more in that position than I used to be. But I still meet people that I like. I feel like it's so unfair because I'm learning the whole time. I feel like I'm getting all the learning, from them.
Well, you have become a mentor to so many of us through these social channels, and you made an impact on me far away.
Amazing.
And I really appreciate it. And so we're going to do some kind of giveaway. I haven't quite figured out how it's going to roll, but I've got two of these, and one is not yours. It's mine.
You get to keep that
It's
one.
going to stay in my studio. And before we go, though, next week is a big week for you, correct? Releasing?
Well, yes, yeah, my EP.
It'll probably be this week, September.
Let's say in the imaginary timeline, it's sometime either now or later or a little while ago.
Yes, something along
I have a
those
new
lines.
EP coming out called Dancing on the Moon, and it's
Are the other songs as good as Dancing on the Moon? Because that's pretty strong.
there's two others that are as good as Dancing on the Moon. Then there's a couple that are,
I might have to bleep it. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Did
My
I make
parents watch it.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Or
My
I'll
parents-
use what sound should I use instead of a bleep? Because the bleep is so offensive.
like an aruga horn,
Okay, let's not do that.
That would be good.
Okay.
I'll swear more if you promise to put that horn in every time I swear. Yeah. So Dancing on the Moon. It's a fun. It's been a fun process for me because, kind of consciously, but also in an evolutionary way, I ended up the past several years making tracks that were like super influenced by being by nature an experimental guitar nerd. Mm-hmm. So I there's like,
If you're going to say something real profound,
we're gonna wait for
let
that.
the plane pass. And we're back.
So a bunch of the tracks are, in fact, the whole EP is very influenced by nerdy experimental guitar pedals, because that's really where I've always gravitated to. So there's tons of Chase Bliss, effects and microcosm, and there's an effect pedal called Cloudy by Tomcat that I think is just the most unruly, uncontrollable thing, but it's a big part of the sound of what the new EP is. So it's like, it's cool for me because it's like I'm allowing myself to wave my freak flag in the sounds a little bit more, and I think I think it has had good results.
Well, I'm excited. Speaking of all those sounds, I've already put my pitch in for the Dan Wilson Studio Songwriter Toolkit sample library. So don't blow up his email too much but send him a message every now and then.
convince them to do it.
Yeah, I think that's a really cool idea. I do have a couple. I've learned a little bit about like the. I have an upright piano that I did a multi-sample Ableton instrument out of.
Simpler or sampler or whatever.
I'm not sure which ones, but it's like the key maps, in Ableton with 5 volumes per note.
Okay.
And it sounds. I made one that's like noisy and dirty and nasty, and then I made one that's kind of clean and great, and I only used the dirty, nasty one. It's terrible. But now I have unbounded respect for people who do it for real, and I'm not going to do any more of those. So.
It's a horrible. I hate it. I hate everything
process.
about it. I like the idea, and then I like when you play it.
Yeah.
And when it's good.
And when your friends are like, whoa.
And then when it's not, you turn it into like an atmospheric pad.
Yeah, check it out.
Everything
put a lot of verb on it.
Yes. Well, Dan, I appreciate it. This is a big thrill for me. So
John,
best of luck to you.
Thank you.
In all that you do.
If you redo my intro, you have my blessing.
Okay. I'll think
just
about it.
Just let them know that I did a good one also.
Okay. I will do. Appreciate you.
Thanks,
Dan.
Thank you.
I'm not going to use the hand.
Back in the studio, I think it's safe to say that is my favorite 15-ish minutes of footage that I've shot since starting this channel. I like to believe that at YouTube they have a prize chart, and when someone uploads 100 videos or 150 videos, then they get a prize. And my prize was to hang out with Dan Wilson. And your reward may very well be Words and Music in 6 seconds. To enter, you've got to be a subscriber. That's my way of getting you to subscribe. And then I want you to, in the comments, write down your favorite lyric of Dan Wilson. The best thing you can do right now is go to his Wikipedia page and just see all the songs that he has produced or co-written. It is a long list. I guarantee you've heard many of those songs. So go check that out. Find your favorite lyric. Leave it in the comments. And apparently there's a website called Contest Picker. We'll go through and find who has subscribed, and it will randomly pick the name. I'm going to leave the contest open until 9 p.m. on Sunday night, October 2nd. That's Central Time. That's about the time I start falling asleep or I'm worthless after 9. So we're going to stop it right at 9. I'll choose the winner. Remember, you've got to be subscribed and write your favorite Dan Wilson lyric. But you should just go buy one. I'll leave a link in the description. You can go pick that up. I think it's even available on Amazon. Such a thrill for me. I hope you enjoyed it as well. Talk soon.